Listen, Camille gets us out of here quickly. Nice.
They're my hi. I know your face.
Anthony, how are you?
Hey. One of these?
I went because I was
Right. Sorry, Lisa. You're totally right.
Did you get that email that has a training video attached to it? Apparently we're the only ones who get used. I'll forward it to you. Did you get that email? The head things attached to it to the grant. I don't know if you did.
You guys gonna stand?
Which email?
It's an email from that has training videos for the Utah grants system.
I have not seen anything like that.
Start in about 5 minutes.
Okay.
Well, I think we have a few people still getting lunch, so.
Hey man, how are you?
Good.
Keeping her in line, right?
Yeah, like we have any control over that.
I'm gonna try to do it.
I know what that's from. Yeah, we got carried.
She never used heard like all these.
What have you heard? That's funny. That sounded very
I was like, oh man, I want the land so bad.
Like Saucy's channel.
Watch it.
Kate and I are working together to start a Mind for Good Moment in October.
Easter's guys.
The Boys and Girls Club and YMCA doing some programs, and we're actually talking about doing a career ladder program there, in which we bring kids in, teach them like all the basic skills, like resume writing, dressing, talking, and how you really interact. And it's like I have a 6-week well, you know what they can utilize for it, and then after that, start interning them out in our programs, so they can see really kind of on-the-job things. About students. Yeah, I thought it'd be a lot of fun.
So I didn't mean to freak you out. Like, I just know how the beginning of the year is all stressful.
It's like one of the most ridiculous.
Yeah, I think I found the right one.
Ridiculous things.
Nope. Yeah.
I was like, okay.
We just know now that it's chair night.
Are you settling in?
It's not a matter of like running. I'm learning new things every day. Of like, oh well, we used to do
You
it
sent
this
me an
way.
email reminding me of that, and I'll do that. Don't talk to Olivia about stuff like that. She's so busy.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, just ask me for
Really simple things too. It's like,
I am, but I don't.
Every single day we have to walk over
She's over
Lincoln
sites.
and say this how many kids are
Over
signed every day, so they
everything.
can prepare that many lunches.
She has to worry about stuff.
And I never did. I was like, it's a certain place, and so I wasn't doing it. And people, the preschool teachers, just assumed that I knew that, and I wasn't just ignoring it. So they got a little frustrated, and then we cleared it up, and everything was fine. I just had no idea. So I'm learning new things every day, and I'm definitely I'm running out of time within 40 hours to do it. But we'll get more staff. I have to hire some staff. So I have Jasmine and a brand new girl right now. And Jasmine,
You know, just
I don't know. It has to pass the house, which
it's just a learning curve for everybody.
I think they're going to push for it to pass earlier than it did last year.
I'm working on my own positivity.
Yeah, it's
So it's a good example.
the best I can do, you know? I didn't know they can change it. So.
You don't need to be psychotic.
So yeah, that was me yesterday because I was like, I'm so sick of whiny staff. Cash was texting me during the meeting. He's like, "What's wrong with you?"
The morning was more
Yeah, I
the
didn't
grant
miss
that we're
being
the new
the
grant that we're writing.
program.
So
It's
it was a
fun.
conference they went through.
Sometimes it's nice to kind of like comments before you.
Exactly, it's great. Yep, that one's crying. I'll see you later. That looks like a fierce crying.
But I can't be the one.
Not even close. Nope. She doesn't have pierced Not even tell you how to fix it. Be like, good luck with that. See you later. Austin, Texas right now. And I think she got her ears pierced.
You know, it's good.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Well, you know,
that's
it's
unusual.
About
It's an unusual choice for
at
first
least right
hearing.
now.
Read about her because she got such a bad infection. Yes, I
That's
did.
what I got from this year.
Okay.
So, if it,
She's teasing me.
What?
It's like I'm the one stationary chair. I'll be okay.
So on that day, I am actually at a conference that we were
Sorry, I should. We're gonna get started with our orientation
Thursday
meeting
and
today. Thank you for coming after lunch on the day before the 3-day holiday weekend. So thank you all for being here. This is the 21st Century Grant Orientation for current grantees. As many of you were here with me this morning, we had the bidders conference for new applications. So I don't know if we'll go an hour, but we're scheduled for an hour, so we'll see how we can go through this information, give you the information you need, and maybe get you out a little bit early. We do have some people online, so they might ask questions as we go throughout. And yeah, I just haven't had an orientation for a while. There's a lot of different things that I've learned as I've taken over this position, and I just want to make sure close to the start of the school year you have the information you need. We're changing over to a new grants management system. There's a lot of changes, so we're going to talk about that. Especially want to support the community-based organizations to get the information they need about the new grants management system. So we're not using Utah Consolidated Application anymore. We're moving to Utah Grants, but I think some of the districts might have gotten more of the information, but it might not have gotten to you yet. So I want to make sure you have that because we will be starting reimbursements, everything in the new system. So you'll need to do your budget, you'll have to do your reimbursements. We have some money that we need to spend by the end of September, so we're going to go through that, and then I will try to send more information as I get more training about how you can do your budget and how you can submit your reimbursement. So we spend all that money that's expiring. Oh, I have the clicker. Before I had the microphone, so this morning I was trying to use the microphone and the clicker and it wasn't working, but I'm Camille Sheik. I'm the program manager, oversee this grant. I also help support the IGP after school grant. And then I have some colleagues here today. So Becky Peters is helping on live streaming. She's awesome. She's support in our office. And then Robert Palmer is also learning about after school, and he helps with some 21st Century and some IGP, and he also does partnerships for student success grants. So, and Renee Medina is also great support for us. Don't know what we do without Becky and Renee. So that's some staff. Oops. So just reminding you what the focus areas are for this grant. We're focused on providing the academic enrichment to meet all the state and local student performance standards, especially with reading, math, science, focusing on that, aligning with the school day, and then offering other enrichment activities that meet the needs of your community, and then serving families as well. So that's the focus of the grant, keeping those in mind, making sure we just had continuation applications due sometime in the summer, so that's good for me, so I know if there's been any changes in your plan, what's going on. We also have a lot of different grant types. So we have the supplemental funding. If you remember that, we didn't have a competition last year, so we have supplemental funding that will need to be spent. Some of you have the mini grants, and we have just a brief update on that. So there's more types of funding, but keeping in mind, these are the focus areas for the 21st Century Grant. So now I'm going to go over a little bit about the Utah Grants system. It's not up and live yet. We're hoping by Monday or Tuesday so you can start getting in there, getting familiar with it. But right now, does everyone have that needs to have access to the system? Do you all have access to the system?
How would we know that?
Has your BA talked to you about getting you a user license? Okay, by raise of hands, who has access? Right, okay. Okay.
We did like about a month ago, wasn't it, that we had to put in like who was going to have administrative access? Is that what you're?
So we
Some
have
of the districts, they have limited user licenses, so they've consolidated.
Okay. But everyone has some access.
So is it
I know the first person that goes in has out. Is that per grant or for the system?
I believe it's per grant, but we're going to pull up the applicant. They have a user guide and just go through the basics with that. Does YMCA have access or you've requested? They have a limited number of licenses. It's not like with the Utah Consolidated
I guess I'm totally
application. If you don't know, I would talk to your business administrator, or if you're community-based, your fiscal staff.
Because all I've ever done is gotten into like the AP, like the end of year reporting, like that I have access to, but I don't think so.
So maybe check with your like, in your case, Dr. VR.
Okay.
But check to make sure you have access.
And I'm asking him if I can have access to what?
If you have access to review so there has to be one master approver, but you should be able to input budgets, or at least make sure the budgets are right, or maybe work out a pathway where you're providing the right person the budget information. We're going to need to enter all the budgets in. So similar to the Utah Consolidated Application System, you have your budget that you have to allocate based on your continuation and your mini grant.
And this will be called the Utah Grant System.
Yeah, so it's called the Utah Grant System. Has anyone used Salesforce before? So it has it's Salesforce based. So it should look familiar for those of you who have used Salesforce. So in your packet, you do have a user guide that looks like this. And so this is kind of the first of some training that we'll go through. We're just going to go over it briefly today, some pieces, and then I'm going to show you where to get more information. So if you go to the USB homepage, and then to departments and programs, or you can go to so the homepage, community and partners, and then financial operations, and I'll send you the link directly to this, but if you ever lose a link. So under financial operations, and then you scroll down and you go to Utah Grants, they'll have an overview about what it is, how it's, it's gonna replace the UCA, and eventually if you have any other grants with different state agencies, they will all be in here, but they're using USDE as a pilot. So one day all of your state agency grants will be in here. Then if you go to Grants Management System, here's where you can find the user guide. And so this is where it just starts off with who's a creator, who's an approver, who's the key point of contact, so fleshing all of that out. LEA creators will be, I think it will be the superintendent is what I've heard, or whoever is over for the creators. I think it's going to vary by program for that. But this is what it looks like from your end. You're not going to have any new applications in the system. So I guess we're bypassing that. So all the applications this year for 21st Century have gone outside of the UCA, or they're not being done in either the UCA or the system. So we're bypassing that. So we're mostly on the post-award management and reimbursement. So, and post-award management and payments is what we're going to be entering. So there will, when the system officially opens, I'm going to send you an email. Hopefully we've worked all that out, who's a creator, who the approver can be. It might be a little different in each district or community-based organization, so we'll try to figure that out, provide you as much information as possible, and then you'll need to enter your budget for your continuation. I believe if you have any carryover, you're going to have to enter that, so that's carryover for continuation, or if you had any carryover for your supplemental funding. So you'll need to enter those budgets, and then budgets for your mini grant.
Can there be carryover from the supplemental until
Yes.
just September 30th or beyond that?
It doesn't technically expire until September 30th, 2019. So, and I will send you an email. Since the system's been down and we haven't been able to do reimbursements, it's been messy to determine where your carryover is, because you could have expenses that's going to spend down all your carryover. But I will be emailing you if you have any money that's going to expire in September 30th, 2018, so this coming month. that will expire, that needs to be spent by that time. I'll email you. I think everyone is generally okay who's in this room. You guys are good, but I will email you the money that needs to be spent immediately, and then what you're looking like for your supplemental funds, your continuation funds. I'll send you an email with all that information, but know that you'll have to enter your budgets into the system, and then it will go through the approval process, and you can start getting reimbursements paid.
So the mini grant is in what year?
So the mini grant, it's going to be a really quick turnaround. All of those funds need to be spent by September 30th of this year, of 2018. That's going to be put in the new system. They told me yesterday that they were actively working to get it in the new system, so when it's online, you can go in there and budget and then request reimbursement if you've already spent your funds.
We're not going to have a system where it's 16, 17, 18, 19, you know, where you have to go back and see all the
I'm not quite sure how that will look. I know there's going to be a piece of there will be carryover.
Right.
But I think with the mini grant, because it's technically coming from our overall state activities, it's not grant flow, we call it flow through to grantees. It will be its own category for this.
Okay.
Any idea when this will happen? Will it be available?
They told me that they were working on it yesterday, and they said it should be up by Monday or Tuesday. So the mini grant and the whole system. Yes.
That grant person that sent us the other email?
I think I will be sending you the email when it's all up, because they're going to try to do award letters out of there too, just so you have that for documentation. So that's coming. I was hoping they'd have it ready, so when we met today, I could tell you it's already been sent, but it takes some time because the new system is connecting with FiNet. That's the state fiscal system, and so they're trying to make that connection, so it's more complicated.
So this is just the mini grant that'll be available.
This is just the mini grant, and then I'm not sure when your budgets will be available, but I will keep.
But as long as we spent the money by September 30th, even if it's after that we request the money and stuff like that, we're going to be fine as long as it was just spent by that day.
Yes. So having it spent. We hope to have the system up very soon so you can start requesting reimbursement, because we have had the lag. So I know it's been tough, but any day. So if you're an LEA, I would definitely talk to your business administrator or your fiscal staff to see who all these different roles are. Because they'll have to approve your budget. It's a little bit different when we'll be creating the grant in the system, but that's not happening this year. But with your LEA, just discuss who those roles are. I think it's going to be similar to how it was in the UCA, where the superintendent is the final one for new grant applications, business administrator for budgets and budget changes. But check with your LEA, and then if you're community-based organizations, it's kind of what you set up for your system. So I think you have. You might be closer to those staff who oversee that. And then, so they have developed some trainings on YouTube. Everything is streamed from YouTube now. That's what we're live streaming from today. So they have some trainings that you can go to where they walk you through the system of putting in your budget and then the approval process that we'll have to go through. But it's hard when it's not live yet. So as soon as it becomes live, you can do that. But I would recommend watching the video and maybe watching it together as a team so you understand the pathway. And I can help with questions. I'm still learning the system too. So we'll get through this together. But definitely refer to your this handout for basic information. Any questions on the new grants management system? It's new. We'll fill it out. We'll get through it together. I think it might look a little different than the UCA for 21st Century, but once we have more information about exactly how that will work, I will get that out to you, and maybe we can do some trainings together. I don't mind coming to different organizations. Maybe we can get some organizations who are closer together, and we can do a training regionally with that, so we're all on the same page.
I noticed there's a section for progress reports. Are you initiating new reports?
So eventually the hope is they get all of our monitoring tools into this system. So everything is in one place. But that hasn't happened yet. But we are going to talk about monitoring this year and some updates to the monitoring tool.
In addition to APR.
So yeah, in addition to APR, we have our monitoring tool that has always been used. We're just going to make some updates so that we're in compliance with our federal partners. Danielle, did you have a question?
I was just gonna say, so is Sandra Grant, she is still a really good resource,
absolutely.
like as far as like the database piece of it goes?
Sandra Grant she's awesome. She can also help walk you through it. So, and if you have other title programs, she can help with that too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the finance piece of things. So with your invoices, once we're able to invoice and you're able to request reimbursement, we do recommend quarterly invoicing if you can. If you can work that out with your business administrator or fiscal staff, quarterly is recommended, but I've been told monthly is preferred. I know that's a lot to ask, but that's just the best practice. So deciding what works best for you. It makes me really nervous when I don't see a reimbursement from people all year long, and then I'm just worried because sometimes parts of the money are expiring and we never want to send money back to our federal partners. We have a great relationship, but do we want to send money back? So make sure you're monitoring that, and I think it will be easier with the new grants management system, tracking that. It was hard for me, because I wasn't trained on the UCA, it was hard for me to find that, but I think with the new grants management system, we'll be able to see overall where you are with spending and what money will be expiring, because it gets complicated. We have a lot of different pieces to this grant, so if you can get them quarterly once the system is up, that's recommended. Monthly would be great. So with your invoice, you need to submit a general ledger every time, and time and effort documentation for those who are paid. If they're paid fully with 21st Century, we don't need to see the time and effort documentation, but if they're paid with other sources, we'll need to see at least one of those. And so if you have other title programs, this is a federal requirement. We're going to send out some examples and some templates. But that's a new thing we're starting, so we'll at least request one for each person, and then we might go from there. And we talked about this morning, Sandy talked about, this helps us, we'll review that, and then if we need more documentation, we will request that. We might request all the receipts. We give you a pretty good time frame, because it's a lot to gather all that and send that. But if we see something, then we might ask for more, but we give you enough time to gather that.
The time card, good enough for a time and effort if it's
listed. Show the splits?
Well, like the ones we have, like say they do a TA position, then they get Title I during the day, but they're also doing after school. There's like 4 different lines, and you put the account number and the name of that program, and then they fill on each line their time that they give to each part of the job.
Okay, yes.
So
we can use that.
Okay, so that will be okay if they're, and now on the ones that are only after school, you still want their time card also?
So if they're only paid out of 21st Century, like you're 100% 21st Century, we don't need that. You can just
put their name under, on the general ledger, just put salaries for these people and a total.
Yes.
But if they're a half-half, include the time card for those individuals.
Yes.
Because if I'm submitting to get reimbursement from this person and that person's name isn't on the general ledger, then you're expecting to get the time card that...
We're going to start matching those. And
I just want to make sure time cards were good enough so I can tell everyone at the beginning. And then a general ledger...
as long as it shows their breakdown.
And then a general ledger, all you're needing is the name of the place or whatever, what the purpose of it and the amount.
Yes, and if you can, because I've gotten general ledgers where there's a lot of information from different programs, and it's hard if you can say, well, this much is from salaries for 21st Century. This much is for supplies for 21st Century. And you can highlight and say, this is the amount. That helps me and Sandy when we're reviewing the documentation.
You're needing receipts sent as well?
No.
Okay.
Only if we have additional questions.
Got it.
Okay, so I'm just clarifying and making sure I understood it. So you probably are going to say the same thing again.
Okay.
If you have a teacher, like you submit an after-school time card, and it just shows that it's the 21st Century account that you're paying, and it just shows 2 hours, so it's clearly an after-school thing. You still want to see a time card for during the day that's attached to a different account.
No, if it's all on one time card and we see the breakdown.
You won't see because ours
Okay, yours are a little bit different.
are different.
Okay.
Like each account will have its own thing kind of attached to it. But if it's clearly, I mean, I guess if you saw that they were putting in 8 hours a day and it's not the site coordinator, you might wonder. But if it's clearly like a 2 hour or an hour a day.
Clear that it's for this and it's during those hours, then
You're
that's
okay.
fine. Yes.
Okay.
And this is
Because ours
something-
does say the clock in and clock out time.
And this is somewhat, it's always been a requirement, but it's just something that we need to start collecting, because I know all of you have all of this documentation on site, but it's just something we need to start collecting with each reimbursement.
It doesn't have hours though.
We use the same format as we did for UCA invoices as far as
For
the,
the general ledger.
so the general ledger from a financial statement, is that what you're defining the general ledger as?
It's whatever is gonna show us the breakdown of how you got the amount for salaries.
Well, I keep it separate spreadsheets from my
So the
accountant's general
spreadsheets,
ledger.
this is just for your specific situation. The spreadsheets you've been submitting in the UCA will work for the general ledger.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other?
So right now I submit the general ledger and percent of time that person is working. So for the time and effort part, is that general ledger report?
Yeah, so if it's 100, if they're only paid out of 21st century, then we're fine with but if they're like split between, this is just an example, they have 50% of a DWS OCC after school grant, and they're 50% 21st century, then we would need to see the time and effort documentation.
So our general ledger report, I'm just sending you the amount of their time for the 21st century, showing the DWS. I send you the general ledger report that shows separate paper that's a time and effort.
Let me double check with Sandy. She unfortunately could not be here with us today, but I will double check, and we said we would send out some templates. And
usually if it's a federal program, it's a semi-annual certification. 100% of their time is just that way. So twice a year, we usually have them sign something, and their supervisor signs something saying that they.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, is
so
if they have to
semi-annual.
sign something.
Yes.
Okay.
But if it's 100%, it's only twice a year, not every month.
Thank you, Lisa. This is something I'm learning more about too. So we'll send out some templates and some more clarification around time and effort and what you need to submit, because I know every organization is different. So the budget, you all submitted new budget narratives for this fiscal year. Sorry for my typo. So those will be the budget you'll enter in for your continuation grant for this school year. That budget you submitted, what you said, the line item amounts, that's the budget you will submit. And as we go throughout the year, if you're moving 10% or more from any line item to another item, you'll need justification. And there's been talks of getting that in the new grants management system. But for now, if you're going to make those changes, please email me. And then maybe one day it'll be in the new grants management system.
Well, I always have trouble with the 10%. Is that 10% of the line item?
The total line item.
So 10% of the line item.
The line item, and
There'll be a warning, won't there, like in UCA?
I'm not sure. It's going to look a little different in terms of budgeting, and I don't know what controls they have in there. So once I get in the system and I get more familiar with it, I can do a training and we can talk about exactly what that's going to look like. I hope they would build that in.
So this that I already sent you and had this breakdown, that I'm just going to go and take this, and I'm just going to take what I've already sent to you, my paper,
your numbers.
and I'm just going to go enter it into the system when it's up, so that
your
that
numbers.
is up to date with what I've already sent
Yes.
to you. But so this was obviously approved from you or whatever, so I'm just going to take this that I've made a copy of and then put it into the paper.
Yes, so that's what you do. And then carryover, as I said, we're still waiting for details about how carryover is going to look, what your final numbers will be, because I know many of you you're going to submit a reimbursement soon once the system is up. So we're still working out carryover, and we're going to talk about carryover policy. So that's budget. Oh, and look, we're going to talk about carryover policy now. So I know there's been a lot of confusion with carryover policy for this grant, how it compares to the other title grants, but this is the carryover policy and it's starting this school year, so 2018-2019. So you can always carry over less than 25%. And we'll just need an email. I'm going to carry over 18%, and this is how I'm going to use it. And besides how it aligns and supports the purpose of my 21st Century Grant. So that's, you can do anytime under 25%. Now when we're over 25%, you can only do that every 3 years. So you could do that this year, but then you couldn't do that for another 3 years. That's the rule moving forward, so it's going to start this school year. And as I said, we're still trying to figure out carryover balances. I think we're pretty good in terms of carryover for the funding that's going to expire at the end of September, but we'll have to see because we had a lot of different grants going on last year. We had supplemental because there was no new grant, and then we also had your continuation funds. So, and if you're going to carry over 25% or more, you'll again need a written justification and email and a plan about how you're going to use that balance, and then a budget narrative so we know how to track that. So that's carryover.
Okay, so carryover is the 20 for this year specifically, because we have more than 25% that we're carrying over.
Okay.
Is the carryover that we can carry over next year 25% of what we have between the new money coming this year and the carryover, or 25% of just the, like, we have to spend all of last year's carryover and we can only carry over 25% of the new stuff coming this year?
Okay, so yeah, so we'll base it on whatever amount from last school year that you have remaining. So that will be the percentage. So if you had a $100,000 grant and you only spent $75,000, then you would need to put in the request.
Okay, but so staying with that same logic, we carry over 35,000, but we get another 100,000 this year. So now we have 135,000. Yes. Do we only get to carry over 25% of the new 100,000, or 125% of the 135?
The 135.
You can. Okay.
Yeah, so you'll get you'll get your carryover, whatever carryover you have.
Plus, can you carry over it again, kind of? So you're taking another 25% of your carryover money. I think that's what she's asking.
No, that's.
Isn't that because you're carrying over?
I wish we had a whiteboard so I could write it down.
So what you can do is, okay, so let's say you have $25,000 in carryover. You can, from last school year. Right. From whatever grants, I know it gets complicated. You can carry over that $25,000 and you get your new.
Right, but I'm saying for next year.
For next year, if you request to do 25% this year, then you have to spend down for next school year.
Wait, I thought you, okay, so, sorry.
It's okay, we're going to figure it out together.
It says annually we can carry over, okay, 24%.
Yes.
So 24%.
Yes.
We can carry over 24% annually.
Yes.
But this year, we're carrying over
more. Yes. And you can do that
next year's carryover, though, the 25%, is it based on us spending all of last year's carryover?
Yes.
And only 24% of the new award?
That's going to be tricky. We always want you to spend old money first.
Right.
But I will need to get some clarification because that is a complicated question.
Right.
But I will say if you have, so I will get clarification on that. That's a good question of what that means, and we'll maybe have a diagram for that.
I just want to know, so I'm budgeting this year, because the way
I've been spend everything down.
The way I've been telling my sites is they can only carry over 24% of the new money, but all of the old money has to be spent.
That's what I would say for that's
what I've been saying.
Okay,
but I want you to I want you to clarify.
Yes, and if you can write it down for me too after, and
For sure.
we'll follow. But we want you to spend all your money. And I know if you're writing for a new application, you're going to have carryover. Because programs, unless it's an existing program, you probably won't start till January. And that's fine. This only applies for current funding, current funded, not the new application. That's a whole different beast.
Because the new application will have about 50% carryover because we're going to be.
We're going to figure that out, but yeah, we'll clarify. So you should try to spend all your money. We don't want to have this carryover build up. I know the funding was threatened. That was really scary. So people were holding on to money, and I probably would have done that too, but I think we're okay. We can breathe for a while. For next school year, 2019-2020, the 21st Century has been funded at the full level by the Senate. Now it has to go to the House and then to the President. So we have 2 more steps, but I feel secure that it's going to hopefully go through the House smooth sailing. There's no cut. I mean, the President wanted to eliminate it completely, so we're good. But yes, the message is spend all your money, and we can clarify Charity's question.
So when you say at the full level, this year for the grant that's currently out there is like, Utah has about $3 million. Is that what you anticipate for the next round too?
So yeah, we always fund, as you know, we honor our current grantees first, and then we take, and it just depends. We have so much more funding because we have no grantees in year 2. So I don't anticipate that will be the case for next year. We'll probably, for new applications, this is new applications, 1 to 2 million maybe. But we have so much money because we don't have any grantees in year 2. So
you'll be able to fund more, you're hoping, new grants this year.
Yeah. Have a question, Charity?
Oh, no.
Okay, I didn't know.
Thank you.
Okay, and we'll get carryover figured out, but we really want you to spend your money.
Right.
Yeah.
Will you just remind us real quickly, like what's that amount of time that you can carry over money for?
The funding,
you know,
it's 27. You have 20. Technically, we have 27 months of availability.
Okay.
So, and it's typically awarded in July, and then you have until September
30th of the year.
Yeah. Thank you.
Carryover would go for till the next, it was supposed to be spent in September 30th of this year. So if you don't spend it this year, you have to spend it by September 30th of next year.
Yes. So you always have 27 months, but it makes our federal partners nervous when we're holding on to a lot of our money from each year. And I get it, it happens. That's why we have this carryover policy. So it's always 27 months of availability, but this carryover policy is something we try to put in place so we are not carrying over large sums of money. So. All right. So program income, I went to the coordinator meeting for all of the states who have 21st Century, and this came up. So it's been, because I know some of you might charge very nominal fees on a sliding fee scale. Many of your programs are free, but with program income, if you are charging some kind of fee, we need to get approval from our federal partners to charge that fee. So I'm going to be sending a Google form out that asks you for each of the grant projects if you charge any fees, so we can request permission to charge those fees. Or let's say you have a fundraiser for your program, or like a bake sale, and you want to reinvest that income you earn and put it back into the grant. We just need to be sure that we have a waiver essentially from our federal partner so you can do that. As long as you're reinvesting it back into the after school 21st Century program, you can do that. But we need to request prior approval moving forward. So I'm going to be sending out a Google form to gather that information so we can collect that information, because if you don't request approval to charge, or you have program income, so income you're earning from the grant program, the 21st Century grant program, and you don't request that approval, you will have to deduct it from your overall award. And I don't think any of us want to do that. So I just want to make sure we're in compliance with our federal partners, because this is something that was brought to my attention that I had never thought about. So as long as we request prior approval
for the fees,
and I will say this, we need to request approval for the fees too. Dr. Sylvia Lyles, who oversees the program at the federal level, She's not super comfortable with programs collecting fees, but she has not outright said you can't collect fees. Because I understand that's part of building a sustainable program, but it makes her a little nervous. So, but I know you guys collect only nominal fees, and you are reinvesting those back into the program. So just keep that in mind, and we're going to request approval for both. So we're in compliance with all of that.
It's okay if we're already doing it, because if we're already doing it, we can't really get pre-approval.
There was no prior guidance, so okay. I think as long as
we're asking forgiveness at this stage and saying moving forward, this is what we're going to do.
Move that forward. So.
And that'll be you'll send the form in an email, or it'll be available on the web?
I'll send the form in an email, and everyone will fill that out, and we can all be we hope we will not get audited, but that's just information that was shared with me that we need to get on top of.
Will you send us a letter letting us know it was approved that we can?
Yes. We use it sites only.
We'll have a couple of things to carry over, program income.
They're going to deduct the fees.
Somebody taking notes for you, because I feel bad of all the things that you had to in the last two meetings.
We'll
have
get
to
it
remember.
done. Any other questions on program income? Okay. So renewability, this is another thing. Other states, so I know we have the reapplication where you can apply after you've had a 5-year cycle, you can apply for another grant at the same level that's been the fifth year for another 5 years. Some of you have that. Moving forward, we're not doing that anymore. We're calling it the reapplication. And you can still apply at that same level as year 5 for 3 years, but then you'll have a reduction in year 4 and 5. We talked about this in the meeting this morning, and I can talk more specifically with people, but other states have the option where they just renew, with documentation, they just renew grants. So say you're ending a 5-year cycle, and to renew, you would just need to show your evaluation that you've hit you're meeting your program goals, you're continuously evaluating. They just have that option where they'll just automatically renew you. You don't have to submit any applications or anything like that. Right now, Utah does not have that. That's an option I'm exploring for the future, but I felt like for the period we are in now, we have some other things we need to focus on, but that might be an option in the future. If you're ending a 5-year cycle, you could just automatically, if you're meeting all your goals and outcomes, be put on a new 5-year cycle. So
at the less amount.
At the less amount. So we're talking about how that would look, but that's not an option yet. I just kind of wanted to give you a heads up. Like I said, I went to the coordinator meeting and I got a lot of good information to bring back to you. Another thing, the funding, 21st Century Title 4B was reauthorized with Every Student Succeeds Act. And with that is this heavy focus on, which it's always been there, but evidence-based practices. Are you using evidence-based curriculum? Are you aligning with the school day? All of that. So I just want you to, I think that's in a lot of your grant applications, but maybe review, really beef that up because I'm going to develop a resource list of different evidence-based curriculum, resources, people you can contact that will eventually be put on the website to help you with implementing that evidence-based work. And yeah, so those are just more updates. Okay, monitoring and evaluation. Well, first you have the current monitoring tool in your packet of documents. It is going to be, I'm going to start going out more, but I'm not going to throw anything on you before I go out to visit you, and we'll be scheduling these visits. We'll talk about it. It won't be, I'm just going to go down to Cedar City to visit Gateway Prep. You'll know what I'm going to be talking about. You'll have the monitoring document, probably making some minor edits, but you'll always have that information. So just know that's something I'm working on. But I want to call to your attention the rule we have around the out-of-school time standards and really how we base our whole quality improvement system. This legislation to codify quality out-of-school time standards passed in 2016. It's really something we work with Department of Workforce Services and Office of Child Care to ensure that all of our programs are working towards being quality. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I mean, that's why we do the quality tool. That's why we contract out with Utah After School Network to provide you with technical assistance. We want your programs. They're already great programs. We want to make them better. So just wanted to call that out. And bring up program evaluation, that you're doing that periodic evaluation based on the principles of effectiveness. So you're looking at what your goals and outcomes in your grant proposal were, and are you measuring them? How's the progress on that? Has anything changed? So just a reminder that you need to be doing those periodic evaluations and sharing them with USB, with your community, with the teachers, the school you serve, other community partners. So these are some due dates. Thank you for everyone for entering 21 APR data. We are in the fall period right now, and that's going to stay open, or sorry, we are in the spring period right now for last year. So that's going to stay open until November 30th. But if you can get your data in sooner, get it in sooner. I'll be sending reminders. We talked about carryover. We've already done the continuation application and budget. Periodic program evaluation. I might do some desk audits, so I might pull reimbursement and just kind of call you, and we might go over some things with that. And then the on-site monitoring visits will happen. I'm going to pilot the new monitoring tool, and then we'll have scheduled visits. And I know we're in a different cycle, so typically they're 2 and 4, but I want to come out at least to visit every organization. Then on quality improvement efforts, participating with Utah After School Network and technical assistants are going to talk in just a few minutes. Having program site visits. Again, these are meant to help and support your program. We'll coordinate with you what works best for you, because there's no one-size-fits-all to technical assistance. And Ben and his team will talk about that. We're moving towards observations. And in your packet, I have a little bit about the program quality assessment tool that we're moving towards. So read up on that. I printed off the handbook, and it has a lot of information just in general to share with your other staff about this quality improvement system and using the observation. And then quality tool will be due in November, and then the demographic data from the quality tool will be open from March to May.
Is that, it's open March to May, is that different than the quality tool that's for?
Yeah, so it's all the same information, it's all the same tool, but this is just the demographic information. We call it program information. Okay. So if you were here in the morning, we talked about how we're aligning with DWS. So you're not submitting separate things, we're working to align our reports. But 21 APR is specific to our system, and that data is really valuable for Congress, because it goes to Congress. That's why we have this system. So. Oh, sorry. So,
making my job easier.
Just to end, we're going to have Utah After School Network talk a little bit about the system, the quality improvement system, and take you through that briefly. Sorry, I didn't think I'd talk that long after the first meeting, but
you had to say it was lovely.
We will hopefully end on time.
Hey Ben, that 30 seconds that you did earlier, that was great.
I'll do that right now.
Okay.
Good. I think most of you have heard me do this in some orientation or another over the course of the last month. I'm happy to get to see everyone because I'm usually in my office while these guys are out visiting with your programs and everything. So it's nice to get to see a room full of familiar faces again. So we are the Utah After School Network. We provide technical assistance to the programs that you're operating, and we do that in a variety of different ways. This is our team. We have everybody up here but our 2 new people that will be working with you as well. You know all of us up here. If you haven't had a chance to meet Angel, he's been on with UAN since January. And then we also have in the back here Eleanor and Kristen, who have also joined our teams as well, who will be reaching out to you soon so you can start doing stuff with those guys. So, in supporting programs, we support your programs through a number of different efforts. Through the quality self-assessment tool, helping you to set goals and to design all of your initiatives throughout the year and everything there. I think it's really important to make it clear that you creating goals for your programs, that's something that we are here to support you to do. We don't ever want you to have the impression that you're creating goals on our behalf. UAN, we have our own goals and our own strategic plans and everything that we're trying to do. You should never feel like a out-of-school time specialist is telling you that you have to do something in your program. Really, we're here to support you in what you would like to be doing in your programs. Supporting staff, we have a number of different professional development opportunities that are available to you and your teams as well. The Jumpstart Conference is coming up in November. We have a Behavior Management Institute that will come around in January again. We have an earlier one that will be next weekend, or September 8th, and that one's all filled up and everything. But stay tuned for more details on the one that's coming out in January. And then as far as supporting after school in general, we support after school policy initiatives. So we're advocates for after school programs. We take a lot of the information that you give us and the feedback that you give us, and that's what we take on to like the legislative session, or Kelly and I even are fortunate to get to go to Washington, D.C. to talk to our representatives there about what needs are for after school in the state and everything there. So all the feedback that you give us, all the stories that you share us, all the information and data that you share with us, that's all stuff that supports our efforts in supporting your programs. So, what resources are available to you from your out-of-school time specialist? We provide a variety of different things to you in a number of different ways. We offer a number of different services. We don't have a cookie cutter way that we deliver our resources to you because every program has unique needs and different communication styles, different sizes, different demographics, even in urban and rural programs and things along those lines. So we try to be very responsive to your needs and everything that you'd like to do to accomplish what you've set out to do for the year. So we can utilize any of the different resources that we have in our toolbox to support you. This is our logic model. I'm not going to go into all this because, like I said, most of you are in my previous orientations and have seen this for the most part. And just understanding that a lot of the work that we do, everything that we do, is geared towards supporting positive youth outcomes. And so that's something that we have up here. Generally, we're kind of far removed from the youth because we're coming into your programs, we're giving you additional tools and resources to build the positive relationships that you need to have with the kids. And so a lot of the work that we do is helping you to create change within your staff, to help to create the leadership opportunities that they need and to give them the resources and everything that they need to create those moments of change for the kids that you serve. So a number of the different things that we have, our quality self-assessment tool, our program information form is the program data that we receive from you. And then a lot of the things that are in our logic model is actually the work that you're doing in your programs. So conducting a needs assessment, recording your youth outcome data, utilizing our resources, reaching out to parents or being involved with other parenting organizations and things along those lines. UAN is half the equation in helping your program to achieve high quality. You're the other half of that equation. And so everything that we do, we want to do hand in hand with you guys and to help you to move forward. And you let us know what you're trying to do and we'll try to support you with resources. The quality self-assessment tool. So it is open right now. You could jump in right now and you could submit your quality self-assessment tool. I would encourage you to not do that today, but it's Friday, it's a 3-day weekend, you've got time to do the quality tool.
Let's go knock that out real quick.
Yeah, sure, just bust it out. You've got your laptops out, just do it. So just to emphasize with the quality self-assessment tool, especially since a number of you aren't working directly in the programs that you're operating, I really encourage you to be a part of your self-assessment team, that you have a self-assessment team. None of you should be sitting down individually and doing the quality self-assessment tool for all the programs that you run. There are some organizations that have done that in the past, and it's really of no benefit to you. Honestly, it's a big waste of your time to do it that way. You want to work with your coordinators, you want to work with your staff and your programs. In addition to being able to let you know about best practices for your program, this is a great onboarding tool for those that are working with you. This helps to empower your staff, it helps with retaining your staff and giving them the full vision and everything that you're trying to do in running a high quality program. And it helps you to create those standards that everyone has similar language around there as well. So get on our website, you can download a fillable PDF of all 4 areas of the quality tool. You can start assessing your program now, use it as an onboarding tool, a training tool as you're bringing new staff on for the school year, anything like that, and you could utilize it in that way. The program information form, this is all of the program demographic information and program information that we collect all throughout the year. This is available now. You can click the link that we have on our website and download it. You can fill it out on your computer. You can print it out and fill it out over time. really I urge you to look at it now just to make sure that you're tracking everything that you need to track, that you have the systems in place to not have any surprises when March 18th rolls around and you realize that you didn't take roll for half of the year or something like that. That is an example of a thing that has really happened in a program. We have walked in and they're like, we don't really know why we should keep a roll or attendance of the kids that are in our program. That'd be really helpful in completing this form. Any questions about the quality tool, the program information form? You guys have heard this before. We are going to be supporting Camille, DWS, and USBE in having observations conducted in programs this year. We're utilizing the program quality self-assessment, or not self-assessment, sorry, the program quality assessment tool. This is not a self-assessment. We are all reliable in utilizing these tools as external observers in your programs, and understand that in conducting these observations for your programs, it's all in the vein of supporting your quality growth for your program. So we're able to get in, see things that you maybe aren't aware of. We're an extra set of eyes. We're all people that have experience in programs, and we're able to look at how things are going and then to help you create an action plan to meet any goals that you've identified through that observation process. How this will look for some programs is if we are conducting an observation for you, we'll conduct a preliminary observation at the beginning of the year, create an action plan with you depending on what we've discussed and what we've observed in your program. And then that's really where our technical assistance comes into play, where we have your custom TA plan that you've created with us, and then we're working on implementing that throughout the year. At the end of the year, a different specialist will come and conduct a follow-up observation for your program, just to be able to gauge the amount of growth that you've had for your program, to really assess the goals that you've determined that you'd like to work on for the year, and then to talk about how it went. Did the year go well? Do we want to return to any of these goals for the following year or anything along those lines? Yes?
Not really on this, but just something I don't want to forget while it's in here, and it may go away and not come back for like a week. So
okay.
Through you guys also, you do the Utah State surveying and all that. It's always through Utah. So you guys work with them, or we do the dibbles, and we have to put in our ID number and our state ID number and all that.
stuff.
Oh, that's not us.
That's not them.
So who does that?
UEPC.
Utah Education
Yeah, the
Policy
Utah
Center.
Education Policy
So I mean,
Center.
they come and talk at all your guys' meetings.
We're all together.
That's why I can never know who's who.
Yeah, they're not right now. They're not actively doing anything with 21st century
Okay.
right now.
Yeah.
So I don't have to worry about.
Not when we would let you know. I would let you know.
I love it when Mr. Windshooter is at these meetings with me as well, but yeah.
Well, when I don't see him here, I'm like, oh, good. But
he's a really nice guy, but I can
not
understand.
because of if he's nice or not, but because of what we're going to have to do.
Yeah.
But the problem I always find is that we end up having to do it, and we just didn't know about it, or we just didn't have the portal wasn't there, or
If
wasn't.
you do 21 EPR,
Yes, then that's all we
and I
have
mean
to.
all the other stuff, but
We're not going to have to worry about.
We're doing observations and we're collecting the program information for him.
Hey, now the required thing is the school age youth quality stuff. The rest is optional, right?
Yes, so we would encourage you if, they're going to do an observation to participate in that. But yeah, you don't have to do the dimensions of success or the behavior management. It's just additional resources.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That UAN is trained on dimensions of success, and they have the behavior management too. I know many of the school districts do other things.
Okay. But those are if we need help.
Yes, yes. So this is the one that we will be
The must
providing
do.
to you as a part of your grant. The rest of these are all strictly voluntary on your part, just that they're beneficial, really good resources for you to utilize. And they're optional. There are resources from these that we can provide to you as well, even if we don't come to provide a observation for you. So the school age and youth program quality assessment, school age is for your school age youth, elementary age, and the youth program quality assessment is for teenage programs. And again, we can do either of those. The dimensions of success focuses on STEM activities and implementing best practices when you're running a STEM activity. And the Behavior Management Institute is actually one of our larger professional development opportunities that we're working towards now, which we do twice a year, that has a focus on behavior management strategies. It's a training that you can attend with your team to make sure that you're all on the same page there as well.
Now, if you have a school that's K-6, they will do both the school age and the youth program because 5 and 6 is technically the youth, correct?
I think that for that one, we would still just conduct the school age.
We're just gonna limit it to the one.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
You'll come to our programs with this document or your evaluation sheet and go through all of our.
That's the handbook.
Yeah, that's the handbook. We have a scoring sheet that we use. So what it will look like in practice is similarly to how we schedule our site visits, is we'll reach out to you and we'll schedule a time that we can come in and conduct the observation. We'll even make sure that you have the scoring rubric in advance as well, so you can see everything that we'll be looking at. It's all outlined in that handbook there as well.
So could you do some training for our coordinators to show them what you're going to be doing so they aren't surprised?
Yeah.
We don't want anyone to be surprised.
Yeah, and something to tell you about this as well is that really the areas that in the PQA, one of the reasons we like the PQA is it aligns very well with the quality self-assessment tool. All of the areas and indicators complement the quality tool very nicely. The YPQA has in a few areas a larger focus on relationships between the staff and the kids, which we don't really explore a ton in the quality tool because we can't really observe that with you submitting your self-assessment. But we can observe it when we're in your program to give you some tips on different things there. And with this as well, it's really important to have the understanding with the observation that it's not a gotcha thing. We're not trying to come into your program to look for things that you're doing wrong, and there is not any penalty for observations associated with it or anything along those lines. It's really for us to come in to be that second set of eyes in your program and to look at these things with the knowledge of these best practices and to be able to guide you in implementing those things.
They had some training before you came in to observe. They could be implementing that, and then you could come and say, our training was effective, and you're doing really well, or you're crappy and we need to start over.
Don't ever tell anyone that.
No one's crappy, Margaret, especially one of your programs.
But this year, the school age thing is optional because we're still tied to the quality tool with these grants, right?
So what it is it wasn't specified in previous applications. So it is optional for
the current grants.
But new will have to do the I mean, when I say have to, I want you to do it, but if you really feel
we
like...
will want to do it when it's...
I would like you to do it even for current grants.
We just wanted a year for our programs to like try to go through it and dive into it and train on it, and then have you guys start next year, even with our programs that are still in 3 and 4 and stuff.
And to that, honestly, in looking at the PQA, like we spent a lot of time in this over the summer. In all reality, you are utilizing a lot of the best practices that are in there. And really with this, it's to help you, it's to help you to become aware of those practices. And then if there's anything in there that you need to work on, then we talk about it. Just like you'll be doing this year and reading through it and being like, oh, we're not doing this, let's do this. That's exactly what the outcome of an observation would be as well. And that's saying, you're not doing this, let's work on doing this. How can we help you do this? And then at the end of the year, hopefully you did that.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect.
All right. Regional networks. So we do have, this is a optional resource that's available to you that UAN helps to facilitate all throughout the state. We have regional networks in 6 different regions around Utah. And this is really to create additional opportunities to network, to find additional resources for you and your organization, in that you are all doing a lot of this work independently. It can feel at times, especially for coordinators or for your frontline staff, like it's hard to know when you're doing it well, or it's hard to know where you can go to ask questions, or who other peers are that are doing this work. You know, if you've made a mistake, to feel like that's something you need to dwell on or something along those lines. You can share your mistakes with somebody else and you can all learn together. So through the regional networks, we've been able to focus on things like staff retention and training. Salt Lake County Regional Network has a really great training committee that does
You're going to cut off the webinar.
Oh, okay.
So I'm sorry. I'm not cutting you off, but they are going to cut off the webinar.
Kicked out of this room.
We're getting kicked out of the room.
We're getting kicked out. It's a really great regional network. You should talk to your OSP specialist about it. Again, you guys have heard a lot of this information, so I won't take much on it. But it's a great networking opportunity. We will send out information on all of our professional development opportunities. Again, registration is open for the Jumpstart Conference, and it is November 2nd and 3rd. That's everything about the Utah After School Network. You can reach out to us if you have any questions. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. And like I said, I'll try to keep you updated with all those things we talked about. I know it's a lot, especially if you were here with us in the morning, but thank you for being here and thank you for all you do. Let me know if you have questions. I have a headache.
It gets better every time I hear it.
No, I
have a question.
Still, like something so I'm just thinking about like continuation because we still
I just want to wait for the get out.
And that's what I was because
I know. I really don't. Because I remember you tried to read it.
And we didn't. We just and I transitioned from very. You tried to
Just move you to a volunteer.
I just wanted to seriously, whenever you're trying to come off the transition, checking out revenue and taking away that area that you can build up your sustainability. Do you have how are you? Exactly. I'm put aside a lot to get to build up sustainability, so I'm not depending on these grants. But we just when you get out and better people. So yes, at that point I was just like, I'm done. Oh yes, I have a headache. And I want to be application, there will be a reduction in your score. So I'm sorry, it was reflected in the and that was
for new grants.
Because you haven't been able to give me chefs, and I guess you should know.
That's why you would just want to like do a new
Unless she's really healthy.
So you